Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Kfouri. I'm working for French Civil Aviation Authority, and I'm in charge of airport slot coordination and schedules facilitation for French Civil Aviation Authority. And I'm here in front of you to present to you new information about for-flight commissioning in Paris ACC, which have already started with short and big live trials in January and February this year. And you've already experienced a bit of for-flight in Paris. And also to provide you a short update about the Olympics and the Paralympic Games, which will begin in 1.5 months in Paris. To begin with, I will start with for-flight, and then I will leave you some time after this part to ask questions about for-flight, and then I will go to the Olympics part. So what is for-flight? First of all, many of you are already familiar with this concept. This is a new ATC tool for an ACC. This tool will be installed in all 5 French ACCs. It has already been installed in 2 out of 5. It is currently being installed in Paris, and it will be installed in 2 remaining ACCs in a couple of years. So this new tool will integrate a new HMI, which will allow stripless environments, that is to say no strips at all, neither electronic or paper, and a new flight data processing system, which will allow 4D trajectories computation, including time, and improving the utilization of airspace and increasing the capacity of the ACC. This new tool it needs some time for controllers to get used to it, because the approach is very different, so the controllers have to take some time to get used to it in a real-time environment. And the transition to this new tool needs to implement a transition plan, which will include a reduction in capacity of the ACC, so the controllers can get used to the new tool in a safely way. So that's why the French ATC has devised a transition plan which includes several measures to decrease the traffic in the Parisian airspace. Those measures are, for example, to use as much sectors as possible during the day, to limit military activity during this transition, and also to reroute some flights out of the ACC so that the traffic can be decreased. One of the particularities of the Parisian ACC is that it is mainly responsible for approaches and departures to and from Paris, unlike the others who are mainly responsible for overflights. So around 70% of its traffic are approaches and departures from Paris. That's why an impact on on Paris ACC will have a direct impact on traffic to and from Parisian airports. And the transition to this new tool will follow the following transition plan. This transition plan is composed of 4 phases. The first phase of 36 days, which will start the 5th of November 2024, will include a reduction of ACC capacity, that is to say the capacity of the ACC, between -20% and -26%, and this reduction of capacity will be translated into -5% of reduction in Parisian airports relative to the Eurocontrol forecast, which is the base we used for the computation of coordination parameters. This data is typically the forecast for the upcoming season made by Eurocontrol of traffic in Parisian airports, which includes the traffic which was done last year, and adding some additional traffic to calculate the forecast. And this is the -5% are calculated relative to this base, not relative to the program you have submitted to the coordinator, which are a bit higher than the forecast because there is some reduction of these programs during the season, during the preparation of the season. Then the program is finalized at the HBD. Then will be a second phase during which the legacy system will be used. This comes from the feedback made by airlines who wanted to preserve Christmas period. So we will make a pause between the phase 1 and phase 2, during which there will be no impacts on overflights and on traffic, so no reduction, no delay. Then the phase 2 starting at the 7th of January 2025, lasting for 36 days as well, During the first part of this phase, there will be approximately 5% of traffic reduction, like during the first part. And during the second part, starting at the 19th of January 2025, there might be some slot reduction, but not that much as during the first two phases. And the last one, ending at the 16th of March, when the date when normally the flight will be commissioned fully in the Parisian ACC. And during this phase, there will be no impact on traffic from and to Paris, but some delay has to be expected, and there may be some impact on overflights. So some overflights may be rerouted out of the ACC. This transition plan has been translated into the following calendar for coordination activities. So the interesting phases are phases 1 to A and to B, during which there will be slot reduction in Parisian airports. During the blue phase, the legacy system will be used, as I mentioned, so no impact will be, there will be no impact on traffic in Paris. And finally, the last phase in gray is the phase during which there might be some impact on overflights, but no impact on traffic to and from Paris. No, that means no reduction, however, some delay may be expected. I will present you the steps we had to determine coordination parameters for this exercise. So we used the feedback from the previous live trial, which took place from the 9th of January to the 14th of February this year. And also we used the feedback which was sent by the airlines via the survey we sent, and so many airlines replied. First of all, we received the need of capacity need by the ATC, which we translate in the number of flights by day, which the ACC can manage. And then we translate this number of flights, the overall number of flights in ACC, we divide it between the airports proportionally. And then we calculate the coordination parameters hour by hour. And when this is done, we check the capacity with the ATC and compare that our computation is correct. And then we notify the parameters, and flight cancellation process will start. Just to explain you the main principle of the determination of coordination parameters. So as I mentioned, we started our work on the basis of forecasted data by Eurocontrol, which is a blue curve you see on this chart. Basically, this is an example by taking 1 day of a week for CDG airport. So it's Friday, if I remember correctly, and it is departure traffic, so we can observe the forecasted traffic in blue. So red dots are the ATC constraints, so when the ATC has asked us to cap at certain capacity. And in green, you can see the coordination parameters we calculated. So they strictly follow the red dots where it is needed, and they allow some flexibility in some zones where some more flights can be accommodated relative to the forecasted traffic. If you observe the squares on the right, they represent the number of slots by day, which you obtain by summing, by adding all coordination parameters hour by hour. So you can observe that overall available slots, which are the sum of coordination parameters hour by hour, are in a green square. Then in blue, you have a network manager forecast, which is a bit lower, and the daily limit in red that we will put in place during this exercise, which corresponds to the 5% traffic reduction that I mentioned before. Why this limit is lower than the available slots? Because the red limit allows that during the day, all flights programmed at the airports can be managed by CACC with no last-minute cancellations. And the available slots offer some flexibility punctually, not on the day, so not all green slots can be booked by airlines. So there will be two kind of coordination parameters. The available slots you can see in red, which guarantee that peak periods are reduced and the capacity is met. And finally, a red limit, the daily limit, which will guarantee that all flights to and from Paris can be managed by the ACC. About the the coordination parameters as well. As I presented to you, there will be 3 phases in the calendar, and hence there will be 3 different coordination parameters period, so which corresponds to the 3 phases of the calendar. The work on the first phase is already finished, and the work on the 2 last phases is ongoing and will be finished by the end of June. So globally, there will be for each airport 7 sets for each period, 7 sets of daily limit. For example, one daily limit for Monday, one daily limit for Thursday, one daily limit for Wednesday, etc., etc. And a limit hour by hour, which are green parameters I've showed you on the chart before. These coordination parameters will correspond approximately to 5% of traffic reduction relative to Eurocontrol forecast, and there will be no impact during Christmas period. So for this exercise to succeed, we ask the participation of all airlines. Following a feedback of the previous phase, we will put in place a threshold of approximately 7 weekly rotations. So airlines who have more than 7 weekly rotations on each airport will have to cancel flights, approximately 5% relative to Eurocontrol forecast. And airlines who have less than 7 weekly rotations, which corresponds 1 flight per day, won't have to cancel flights, but will have to reschedule their flights out of peak periods. All information on flight reduction will be available on coordinator's website, and a follow-up as well of the reductions. Also, I would like to stress the point that we ask the participation of everyone. So there will be 7 daily limits, which corresponds to 7 days of the week. And the constraints for each day are different. For example, Friday is far more constrained than Tuesday, because there is much more traffic on Friday. So COHOR will indicate zones to be privileged by airlines to target their cancellations on where it is really needed. Some words about the calendar of cancellations. We will finalize our coordination parameters on the 25th of June and present them on the coordination committee to actors. Then we will notify these coordination parameters to COHOR, and that will allow airlines to plan their cancellations and inform their customers so that they can put their customers on another flight. However, I insist on the fact that slot cancellations to COHOR have been submitted, must be submitted after the HBD, so that the historic computation can be computed for the upcoming season. Also, for airlines who cancel flights, the coordinator will guarantee the force majeure. That means that they will get their slots back at the time that they cancel. Even if they reschedule, they will get back the time they originally programmed. So every cancellation the slot will be back for the upcoming season. And the cancellation will follow a 3-phased process, which will start after the HBD on the 2nd of September. By the first voluntary phase, that means that airlines will be guided where they have to cancel flights, but they will have the choice which flight to cancel globally. So I invite all of you to cancel flights during this period, because you will have more choice on which flights to cancel and which flights you want to operate. Then a second phase beginning at the 10th of September, during which COHOR will indicate flights to cancel for airlines who didn't meet their targets of cancellations. And finally, after these 2 phases, we could impose cancellations on airlines who did not comply with our guidances and who did not meet the target of cancellations computed by COHOR. That's all for me for 4 flight parts. I will take questions for this first part, and then I will go on for the Olympics, if you want. Yes?
Thank you very much. Do you have a question on the previous slide? Just for the clarifications, a daily flight So 7 flights per week. Does it fall into which category? The first bullet or second bullet?
For two categories, it is a threshold below which airlines have less than 7 flights per week don't have to cancel, and airlines who have more than 7 flights per week have to cancel.
So 7 includes to which one?
It will 7 rotations, so basically it means 14 slots.
Yeah, so it is going to be to cancel or not to cancel?
If you have more than 14 slots, so 7 rotations per week, you have to cancel.
More means more than 7. So 7
yes.
includes to which one?
7 includes to the final figure has not been yet validated, so it is in discussion. Maybe it will be 6 or 7, but I think it will be 7. And if you have 7 or less, it's the second category where you don't have to cancel flights.
I see. Okay, 7 belongs to the second
Yes.
one. Okay. And may I have another one to the next slide, please? Once airlines are falling to cancel, let's say 1, the cancellation of number 1 will be indicated by cohort during the phase 1 period. Am I correct?
The phase 1 period, cohort will only give you the target, so number of flights to cancel, or overall number of flights, and periods where he will invite you to cancel flights because they are most constrained.
Okay.
So there will be no direct targets. They will not indicate flights to cancel particular flights.
Right.
It will be during the second phase. So during the first one, you have more choice to choose
Right.
between the flights you want to cancel.
So am I right to understand that during the first the phase 1, let's say one particular airline has been called to cancel some volume of the number of flights, and if that airline's canceled during the phase 1, it will be no more cancellation.
If your target is reached, there will be no more cancellations for your airline.
Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm speaking on behalf of Korean Air. We are actually operating 2 cargo aircrafts weekly and daily passenger aircraft per week. So we're operating 9 flights per week. Does that mean we have to cancel
Yes,
number of
if
flights?
if your number of flights is below the limit, is higher than the limit, sorry, you will have to cancel flights, independently of is there is cargo or passenger flights, because they concentrate on the ACC, which means an aircraft and not a passenger or cargo aircraft.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you for putting this together. Hey, this is Noah from American, and the question I have is, looks like you have a phase that goes until the 10th, or sorry, the 10th of December. Can we cancel past that? I have a schedule change date on the 19th of December. Can we cancel outside of the periods where it's going to be reduced and still get Janus?
I think this is more the question to the coordinator, because he is independent to provide Genius or not. I think personally that the answer will be no, but
Okay.
it has to be checked by the coordinator.
I can talk to. Okay, thank you.
But what I can guarantee to you that if you cancel during the period, you will have the Genius.
Thank you.
Some more question for this first part? So yeah.
Hi, Owen from Aer Lingus. Just to confirm, you'll be encouraging our airlines will be allowed to work together, group airlines, to amalgamate their cancellations at a group level?
I think that what has been done, that Cohort has authorized the group airlines to mutualize their cancellations on a specific airport, but this works by airport, so you cannot mutualize your cancellations between CDG and all the airports. So no more questions. Let's move to the second part, and if you have some questions on 4-flight later, I will come back to them. The next part is an update, a short update on Paris 2024 Olympics and Paralympics. So you already had a small presentation during the last IATA conference in Dubai. After this conference, there has been some additional information. Maybe you are already familiar with it, but I will present to you anyway, so you get the most recent information about this event. I will not stay long on this slide, but the goal of this slide is to indicate that there will be a lot of competition sites all over France for Olympics and a lot of sites in Paris, so some specific security constraints will be put in place during the whole event. For the Paralympics, it is a bit lower in number of competition sites. They will mainly be targeted in Paris, with a competition site in Châteauroux, but still some security measures will be put in place during this event as well. The key dates of the event are globally the opening and the closing ceremonies for both of the events and the 100 meters final. The opening ceremony of the Olympics is a particular event. I will come back to specific measures of on this event a bit later. But you can see on this slide that during both of the events, there will be temporary restricted areas and temporary prohibited areas over Parisian region. For this event, additionally to the normally coordinated and scheduled facilitated airports in France, some airports will be coordinated. This is related to the fact that there will be many competition sites all over France. So for this occasion, Marseille Airport, Lille Airport, Beauvais Airport, and Le Bourget Airport will be coordinated. The dates, you can see them on the slides. Also, I remind to everyone that the no respect of slots and the no respect of the EU regulation may be followed by a sanction up to 7,500 euros per movement. Also, on CDG Airport and Orly Airport, there will be a specific procedure put in place of flight plan suspension if there is no allocated airport slots for a given flight. This is done because there will be a lack of capacity for everyone in Parisian airport, and especially during the opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies, where there will be many departures and arrivals of different delegations and head of states. The general restrictions put in place over Paris will not impact commercial aviation. That means that the temporary restricted zones and temporary prohibited zones over Paris could be penetrated without any accreditations to coordinated flights to and from Charles de Gaulle, Beauvais, Orly, and Le Bourget, except for general business aviation, but this is a particular aviation that will follow a specific procedure. And all of the procedures are published in the AEPs and AECs. I will give you the number of these aeronautical publications informations a bit later during this presentation. But what the most important is this, that you will not have any additional constraint to fly to and from Paris, except on the 26th of July. And on the 26th of July, because of the unprecedented scope of the opening ceremony, which will take place on the Seine River, there will be a temporary prohibited area with the radius of 80 nautical miles around Paris, without limit, so from ground to unlimited, which will be activated at 16:30 UTC. There will be no flights and overflights allowed during the activation of this zone. This zone is preceded by a no-slot zone on Parisian airports, so no slots can be asked starting off 15:30 UTC, and no increased zone is between 14:30 and 15:30. That means that there will be no more flights given to airlines than programmed on the SRD base in December 2023. That also means that for Orly and Beauvais airports, the operations won't resume on this day, so the operations will resume on the following day. And for CDG, there may be some operationally agreed departures beginning at 21:30, but they are not fully guaranteed at this stage, and normal operations will resume at midnight local time. Also, I strike the point that all environmental rules will be enforced, so there will be curfews put in place. The normal environmental rules will apply. The aeronautical publication information I've spoken about is the following. You have two AAPs, the numbers, you can find them online using these numbers, and the AACs as well. So you can consult this information or ask us questions on the email address I will show you at the end of the presentation. And finally, what I wanted to say that due to the scope of the event, on CDG and all the airports, there will be particular measures put in place on slot reservations during the period between the 12th of July to the 16th of September. This will not impact normal commercial flights, which are already scheduled, so there will be no impact on small changes and non-significant changes, and then commercial program which has already been submitted. Also, the positioning flights will be allowed as well, because the program has to leave and we won't impose constraints on these positioning flights. However, for additional flights, some key principles have to be followed. So the submission must be done no later than 7 days before the flight, in rotation format with a limit of rotation duration of 5 hours. Because I have already mentioned, there will be limited capacity of parking at the airports. So that's why all of these criteria are presented to you, and we ask you to follow them. Otherwise, your slot may not be accepted. And that's all for me. You can contact us, of course, on the following email addresses. So my email address and the general email address who is consulted by our office. So feel free to ask questions, and I will leave you the time to ask your questions either about the Olympics or for flight if you wish. No single operation, no flights, no flights. So if you're late, you won't be able to fly to Paris. Until midnight, yes. Until midnight local time. But I remind you that at CDG Airport, there are also a constraint on the night slots. So there is a limited number, and yeah. So if you don't have night slots, it will be more complicated to operate during night. Some other questions? I don't see no more questions, so feel free if you have some questions later to contact us on the email address, and we will respond to you, of course. Thank you very much.